Hello, my name is Bryan Arvelo, and today I'm sitting here with the principal of Butler High School, Mr. LeGrand. The reason for this interview is I'm hypothesizing, are public schools more beneficial than private? Mr. LeGrand, what has been your personal experience in both public high schools and private, business-wise and professionally?
I have spent my entire career in public schools, being employed in public schools. So I believe very strongly in the public school systems. I believe in the opportunities that it gives all of our young people on a equal playing field. You know, whoever is able to show up at school is who gets an equal chance. And I haven't had the the opportunity to work in a private school, but the one thing I think would not be equal about private school is some people don't have access to those schools, right. Whereas in public school we take on anybody that is in our boundary zone, and we bring them in and we try to make the most of their opportunity while they're here with us.
Right. Okay. Well, what's the difference in your opinion on how the learning experience is for students in both schools?
Well, I think private schools, of course, operate by a little different rules than we do. When we talk about curriculum, they're not as tied to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction guidelines, and they're able to have a little more leeway and a little more decision making on how they want to cater their instruction.
Right.
Whereas in public school, we are required to go by a certain curriculum and a pacing guide and all of that. So I think they probably have a little more flexibility due to that fact. But I feel like in our system, in our public school system, all of our teachers have to have a certification, or at least working towards a certification, right. Where private schools, they may not. So I tend to think public schools, whether this is the public perception or not, tend to have just as rigorous instruction as a private school would, because the quality of teacher has to be high, because we can't just hire anyone. A private school doesn't have all the different guidelines that we have on who they can hire, so they may hire someone that's not certified or may never taught before. Whereas in public school, we typically get experienced teachers with college certificate or college education towards towards the education field.
Okay, so which education do you think is more beneficial for families with fewer affluences, and how?
Well, I definitely think unless you are in the situation where you can afford an elite private school, I think that the opportunities that you are afforded through a public school are definitely not going to hold anybody's child back. I feel like for example, here at Butler, we have an outstanding academic program, a lot of good teachers, a lot of good kids. But there's also more than that. We have an outstanding athletic department where kids can showcase their talents if they are athletically inclined. We also have a performing arts department that is really high performing. So if you're artistically inclined, you can excel here too. So whereas I think in private schools, they have a little less, in some cases, funding and a little less opportunity, as far as the big athletic fields and departments and the big performing arts departments. They tend to be on a smaller scale, and so there's less, in some cases, exposure, for students that are really excelling at a high level.
Okay, so for our final question, what do you think guarantees students, in the long run, more benefits in the long run for them, public schools or private schools, and why?
Well, being a public school employee, I feel like public schools give students the best chance to be successful. And the reason I feel that way is it is a public school, so you're going to come in contact with all types of different individuals. And let's face it, when we get out of school, we've got to interact with the public. In our jobs and in our occupations. We have to make sure that we have those skills and that we've been able to do that in school. And I really feel like, going back to the teacher, I feel like that, a lot of our best teachers are in the public school system, because a lot of times the public school can pay them more than a private school can. A lot of times the public school is more, it has stronger guidelines on who can be hired as opposed to I'm a private school, I can hire who I want to. And I think our content and our curriculum is tied more to if a student is planning on furthering their education in a college. Our content is geared towards getting them ready for that opportunity. So, you know, I feel strongly that, you know, students in our public school system, if they take it upon themselves to take advantage of what's laid out in front of them, you know, and if they take advantage of this and they make a choice to, hey, I'm going to reap the benefits of what's being offered to me, I think it's you know, the sky's the limit. It's not going to be something that holds them back. And so I guess in short, to answer your question, I feel like public schools afford better opportunities for kids than private schools.
Right. Well, that's it for us today, Mr. LeGrand. Thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work in Butler. I know all the students appreciate it, and thank you so much for spending time with us.
Well, it's good talking to you too, Brian. I appreciate what you're doing. Good luck to you, man.
Thank you.